Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Live from Hillside, New Jersey, right? We're in New Jersey. Unbelievable. Rabbi Isai, it's Ashgacha Pratis. I have nothing to do with this. We just landed from Eretz Yisrael, and we're about to take a flight to Utah. Park City, Utah. My daughter lives in Park City. And Mark Ashkenazi here in the front. Rabbi Isai, a big round of applause. Mark Ashkenazi. He said, rather than giving a shir in the airport, why don't you go to a local show? So he's been talking to my brother-in-law. I didn't even know. He's talking to Daniel Fleischer for, I don't know, a week or so. And I come here and I see my brother. What are you doing here? I didn't realize he even lives here. And he set this whole thing up. So Yishkoyach to Congregation Adas Yisrael. Rabbi Shimon Steinmetz is right here in the front. Yishkoyach for having us. And all the Gabayim and all the people that are involved. There's supposed to be pizza, I think, and some whoever donated, Yishkoyach. Who's that? Dambi? Mayor Dambi? Mayor Dambi and his group. So Yasher Koyach. So because I'm catching a flight, unfortunately, I'm not going to have a lot of time to sit and talk after shir. I basically have to get up and run, catch whatever the Uber it is, and get to the airport. I'll say quick, shalom, but I can't really stop and schmooze. I hope you understand. This morning, there was a taxi waiting for me at 8 o'clock in the morning in RBS. And I was in the middle of shir, and my wife says, we're in the taxi, we got to go. So I had to stop. So that's why, basically, we're only halfway down a very, very long Amud Aleph and Daf Yomi base. So if you're holding a piece of paper with the Daf, it's probably not going to work for the first, 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to skip all the emails and things. I just want to show you a few pictures or whatever. There's a guy from Chazin Na'ami, Moshe Cohn, he put this giant sign. It's about, I want to say 40 feet long in Bnei Brak, in front of his hall of Armanot Chen. If anybody's been there, it's in Bnei Brak, famous hall. This is, somebody saw this car somewhere, MDY magnets everywhere. If you look around the room, you'll see there's a lot of Hasidic Shechevra. Some of them are from Williamsburg. A guy came over to me before the shir and told me how much the shir changed his life. This is an email that reminded me of what he was saying. He said his wife is very proud of him. This is the guy. This guy's telling me all these things. He bought a Mishnah Brewer now to learn more halachas. So over here, this guy says, I don't have a lot to tell you, just simply to tell you, look how my wife appreciates what I'm doing now. And she writes on the bottom, Fadi Talmud Chacham. She now calls her husband a Talmud Chacham. And she bought this for the 100th day that he's doing. Basically, anybody that started Sanhedrin, they're doing 100 dapim. And 100 is a tremendous number. I believe it's a number that basically you become addicted after 100 days. It becomes part of you. It becomes a habit. And that's the magic number, basically. Rabbi Isai, a lot of people are doing a lot of things, but we're trying to get people to start Masechtas Makis. It's only 23 days. And if you go to mitzvah.mo, you could... Mitzvah Mo. Oh, not that Mo. Mitzvah Mo. Thank you. Mitzvah Mo. That's official catering in Baltimore. Is giving $250 to anybody that finishes the Masechta who hasn't done Daf Yomi before. So it might be kedai to check that up. Here's another thing that Dove Harris and the boys are doing in England. I think everybody's eligible. It's Vigata Lebincha. Maybe not. Is it for everybody? Vigata Lebincha. Basically, learn with your father, learn with your son, learn with your grandfather. And you have to sign in every day to mdydaf.com, and you could win a trip for two to Eretz Yisrael to meet Reb Eli, whoever that is. That's what it says here. Okay. What else do we have? Let me see. Mark, get off for a second. Let me go to my thing here. I need to see my boxes. You got boxes for me? No? It's thinking. Okay. So maybe it's a sign that we should start. Oh, but I can't do anything. You're frozen. Hold on. How if I go over here on top? No. So Rabbi Isai, do v'gat levincha. You know what? And it's a good time now. Maybe take out your phone and put on your status Shalom Aleichem Penny. There's a lot of familiar faces in the audience here. Schmack, Penny Tao from Staten Island. You came all the way from Staten Island? Abba Rennert. Shalom Aleichem. That's the famous Abba Rennert. What are we doing? Restarting? What happened? When we're on the road, there's always some issue, some sort of yitzhahara. The oil is piling in. They can't believe we started on time, but it's simply because I have to catch the flight. You know what? Is this working though? Is the yard stream is working? I just have to do the what do you call it? So we could start the sugya. No, it's on. Okay, good. I apologize. Here we go. This guy. And this I'll show you again if you haven't seen this. We have a bot. If you have WhatsApp, it's unbelievable. Basically, you could just put the word daf in it. Once it's a WhatsApp contact. So you put the contact in on the bottom. It says plus 972-505-671-404. And you make that a contact. Once that's a contact, you can receive the shir. You just put the word daf and it gives you that day's daf, or you could do brachas daf gimel and give you brachas daf gimel within 2 seconds. Comes into your phone with all the charts and everything. Another thing that you can do is you write on it the word status, and it gives you like a video or a picture that, let's say a video comes in, and then you just take that video and you forward it to your status, and like this, people could join the share without you even having to be embarrassed to speak to them. Just put on your status and it happens by itself. People join the share, and now you have schusim, Leilam Vad of this person changing his life because of you. What else? Okay, we shall start. I just need to do the sponsors. The Masechta sponsor, lirfo shleim Shmuel, Chana, Ettel, and Yosef Chaim Shmuel Ben Alte Nechama by the Grateful Family, by Anonymous, for the Hatzlacha B'Parnasa, ובגשמיות, Cohn, in memory of Yechiel Moshe Ben Chaim, who started learning Daf Yomi at age 70, continued for 32 years until he was nifter. Anonymous, for the unity of the Jewish people. Where's Yossi Klein? Oh, here he is. Okay. Glenn Esterson, with love and gratitude from Wilmington, North Carolina. Thank you for enriching my life with Torah, all the way from Carolina. Monthly sponsors: Eli Stefansky, Moshe, Eli Stefansky, Yosef, ActualEyes, and Hatzlacha B'Parnasa. Kollel sponsors month. Thank you to Rebelli's wife and kids for the great sacrifices that they make, allowing him to spread Torah to the masses. Yeshakayach. Daily sponsors: Dan Rubinoff. Eli was my father-in-law. Is he here? Dan Rubinoff? Not here. Lili Nishmas, my father-in-law, Avraham Shmuel Ben Aryeh Leib, Alex Klein on his 5th yard side, Aaron Traring, Lezech Nishmas, the 20th yard side of my father, Yitzchak Ben Avraham Yosef, Paul Demante, big mazel tov to my son, Rafal Zelig Ben Pinchas Yaakov on his bar mitzvah this Shabbat. Mazel tov. For the safe return of all the hostages. And Refuah Shlema, L'chol Chayli Am Yisrael. By Aaron Hirsch, Lezech Nishmas, my father-in-law's 1st yard side, Baruch Ben Yamin, Zechron Levracha, Aaron Hirsch, the famous, this is Aaron Hirsch, no? Mark, Aaron is from Lakewood, I'm assuming. NY Kids Monthly, the Innovations, Chus for Fischl, Chana, Akiva, Rivki, Mrs. Stefansky. Art of the Mother of Shlema, for Yonatan Eitan Ben Batsheva, Bracha, for Chus Rebellion, the whole NY staff to make. Mark, come here a second. You and Yossi, get on the stage for a second. You need to make Torah so enjoy so many. I was dying to do this for months. It says here, in honor of Yossi Klein and Mark Ashkenazi for all the work they do. Come. The famous. I finally got to say it. Here they are. Shalom Aleichem. Get over here. Otazoi. What a tzaddikim. They don't get paid, and they do all day long. They work for MDY. Mamish. What a schos. You don't all have to stay up there. There's still room down here. We can make it in the front. There's literally 10 seats in the front row, and all these rows have.
They're closer to the
food. Closer to the food. Rabbi Isai, here we go, and we got to pick up a pace here. If you look around, I'm telling myself, this room right here is Daf Yomi, and I'll tell you why. You're not going to think about what I'm thinking. Right over here, there's going to be about, over 200 people signed up. So I don't know how many people we're going to have at the end. Let's say 200, let's call it 200 people. It's geschmack, 200 people, I'm talking to a crowd. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be in a basement in Park City, Utah, where there's no minyan. And I'm going to be talking to the wall. I'm going to be talking to the phone. And that's the ups and the downs of Daf Yomi. Sometimes it's geschmack and it's great, and sometimes you're not in the mood. And that's how it is. It's just how it is. As once in Borough Park, we had a shiur with over 1,000 people. Over 1,000 people. The next day, I flew to Chicago and I gave a shiur to 7 people. And one of them, okay, we're not going to go into it. It was barely 7 people. Let's put it this way, barely 7. So it's the ups and downs of Daf Yomi. And the reason why I'm saying it is because we're going into Yontif now. And it's really difficult to learn Erev Yontif. It's really difficult to learn on Chol Hamoed when the family wants to go on vacations and trips. And then everybody has heartburn and this and that. Whatever it is. And the Magid Shir is on a phone instead of live. And he's from a basement instead of this. But we got to push through it. Rabbi say, don't fall off the bandwagon during this more of a difficult time. You have to make a cheshbon. How am I going to get through Yontif? I got to do 2 daf Erev Yontif. I know you have to make charoises in the mar. I get it. But you have to plan ahead. Okay, so we are holding daf Amud Beis. It actually works out great because instead of being a whole daf ahead, kuvav is ahead for you guys, so it's somewhat on your daf. We're talking about Bilam. Bilam had a trick. He knew the moment that Hashem gets upset every day. And it's literally a moment, the time it takes to say the word rega. It's a 3-letter word, rega. If you know that moment, you could curse anybody you want, and they go five. So the Gemara says like this, Emas rotach, right before it becomes wide, we're really behind. It's like 6-7 lines before it becomes wide. Emas rotach. When exactly is this time? I want to know also, says the Gemara. Interesting. I didn't say yesterday, so I'll say today. We finished off yesterday the famous song. Lechami boy b'chaderecha. It's a Shweki song. Lechami boy b'chaderecha. I'm not going to sing now, okay? But it says, Chavi kimat rega ad yavor zam. Wait a moment until everything quiets down. There's a pasuk in Yeshaya that says, Histarti poni regi mimech, uv'chesed olam richamtich. So, they say pshat that all the bad that we have in this world, all the ra, when it comes to olam ha'emes, which is trillions of years, there's no soif. So the bad that we have in this world, it seems like it's crazy and it's going to be a rega. It's going to be like a fleeting moment. Everything. Okay. So emas rotach. When is this time that Kodesh Baruch Hu gets upset? It says Gemara b'tlashoy kamay says the first 3 hours of the day. Ki chavra karbalta de tarnegoyla. If you look at this chicken over here, if I can get to it, look at its comb on top, whatever it's called. What do they call it in English? A what? A crop, you said? No. It's called a comb in art scroll language, but we need a dictionary for that. Here, oops. Look what happens here to this thing. Real quickly. It turns white for a moment, and then it goes back to red. If you could catch that moment, then you could do a lot of stuff. Says the Gemara, once in a while, all the time, it gets whiter. Even when it gets white during the day, it still has some streaks of red in it. But there's one moment that's completely white. That's the moment that it's a sign that Hashem is upset. Says Gemara's story, I'm just going quick because it's Agadata, and as is, we're behind, and it takes a very long time just to read the words. There was a heretic in Rabbi Shua ben Levi's neighborhood that he used to bother him a lot. He figured, okay, great idea. I learned in the Gemara that if you know the moment of when the chicken turns white, you can kill somebody. Let me kill this guy. Let me get rid of him. Do a shiluchin on him, whatever they call it in Italian language. Get rid of him. What do? He grabbed a chicken. He tied up his feet so he can't run away. And he just stared at him to see when his comb is going to change to white. And then he'll curse him. I already discussed yesterday, if it's only a moment, how are you going to curse somebody in that moment? A curse is a long time. So Taisa says you're going to say one word, kalem, 3-letter word, kalem. Or you're going to start the curse, and then you could continue on later. And the Aruch HaShulchan says, based on that, you could start Shemona Esrei right before Zman Tefillah and continue this Shemona Esrei afterwards. Many Achreidim argue on him. Okay. Omar, Kimota Hushaita Altiyeh. When that moment comes, I'm going to curse the min and get rid of him. Kimota Hushaita Namne. time came and he fell asleep. Omar says to himself, Rabbi Shimon Levi says, why did I fall asleep? It must be it's not appropriate for me, it's not derech to do something like that, kill a min like that. For a tzaddik to punish is not a good thing. And that's also talking about heretics. So I shouldn't have said this. Yeah, it's where the lines are wide now. Amud Beis. When the sun shines and the kings get up and they put their crowns on their head and they bow to the sun, that's the time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets upset. By the way, I still have a question. I asked this to the Israelis and I tripped them up. So I want to see what the Americans have to say. We say, Soid Hashem Lireov. Soid Hashem Lireov. What does the word Lirev, Shalom Aleichem, what does the word Lirev mean? Two options. Don't tell me. Just either raise your hand right or left. I want to see what the Olam says. Lireov to his friends, or Lireov, left hand, is to those who fear him. What's Lireov? You say left. Everybody's saying left. Anybody right here? Right. Rennard is confused. He doesn't know. What is it? Lireov, a friend, or Lireov, somebody you're afraid of? Nobody wants to answer. That means you don't know. It's better to answer the wrong answer. No? Right hand, right hand. He went to Panovich. He knows. No? Anybody else right? Right. No, whoever said right is wrong. Lireov means somebody that fears him. Okay, just throwing that out. Says the Gemara like this. Yeah, we said this. Bilam woke up in the morning and he saddled his donkey. When a person is in love, he does crazy things. How do we know this? From Avraham. Avraham had a lot of servants. Yet when Hashem said, go, shecht your son, he was so in love, he was so touched by HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he did it himself. He ran, he did it himself. Sinah, and the flip thing is hatred. A person is very wealthy, has a lot of slaves. He hates so much a guy that has a lot of jealousy. He doesn't think rationally, he just goes and does. So Sinah, you see it from Bilam, he himself saddled up the donkey. A person should learn Torah, do mitzvahs, even if he can't achieve the darga of lishma. Lishma means you're learning for the sake of the Torah. That's one pshat. Even if you're learning to show off, or you're learning for gaiva, better to learn for that than not to learn. Why? The famous Gemara, Shematoich Shaloi Lishma, Ba Lishma. Start off even if it's for the wrong reason. Now, obviously, you're not doing it for bad reasons, not to show somebody up or whatever, but not for the best reasons. So, eventually, the Torah will get to you and you'll learn it Lishma. Balak was a guy. He brought 42 karbanas for the wrong reason, to get Klai Yisrael, to destroy Klai Yisrael. V'yatza mimenu rus. You hear what's going on here? He had the schus to have rus. Why? Because he brought 42 karbanas, shalai lishma, but it turned out to be a great thing. Amr Yosi, Bar Huna. Rus, bita shel Egloin. Rus is the daughter of Egloin, ben b'nai shel Balak, melech Mayavaisa. B'kitzur, she was a descendant of Balak. Amalei Rava, Lerabba, Bar Mari. Ksiv, yetev Elohim, Eshem Shlomo Mishmecha. Elikim, they told David that Shlomo, your son, should be greater than you. The Gadol is Kisa Mikisecha, and his share should be greater than yours. Ask the Gemara, is that appropriate to talk to a king like that? Tell a king that Shlomo should be greater than you? Armalei me'enka armalei. He didn't mean he should be greater. So he should have the bracha that you have. Because I can prove it to you. It says, we had the story the other day when Yael killed Sisera and Dvorah Neviah gave him a bracha, and she said, you should be minashim ba'il tevarach. You should be greater than the women of the tent. Who are those women? Nashim ba'il maninu, Sar Rivka Rachav Aleya. Now, how could you tell a woman that she should be greater than Sar Rivka Rachav Aleya? Is that appropriate to speak like that? The bracha was, you should be should have that bracha, not that you should be greater. He argues on Rabbi Yosi. A person is jealous of everyone besides his talmidim and his own son. He had a son who was a big Eli, a big Balkishrin, and they told him, your son is greater than you. So he's very upset. So somebody said, why are you so upset? It says in Gemara that a person is not jealous of his own son. He said, yeah, that's only when it's true. Zog the Gemara. But no, how do you know that a person is not jealous of his son? Mishleimer from Shem HaMelech. But tell me that, how do you know the person is not jealous of his own talmid? That Elisha wanted, Eliyahu, he's like a genie. He said, whatever you want. Take anything you want. He says, I want to be double as you. So Eliyahu said, great. Be double, have the double nevuah as me. So you see that Eliyahu wasn't jealous of him. That Moshe Hashem said, put one hand on Yeshua, Moshe put both hands. In other words, he didn't have any jealousy of his Talmud Yeshua. How did we stop Bilam? Elazar says it was a malach, and where am I? Rabbi Yodason Omar Chaka. This is Chaka. Let me see if I can show it to you. Here we go. Chaka. This is Bilam trying to curse. Now, anytime he wanted to curse, Hashem pulled the hook and didn't allow him to curse. So they ask a question here. We said yesterday that Bilam didn't have the time. We started the shir. You have to know the exact time that, how you doing, Meir Dambi? You should go for the pizza. Where's the pizza, though? It's there. It's already here. Everybody has to behave and wait until the shir is okay. So I got to make the shir over quickly. It's going to get cold. We should probably give it out, no? It's going to get cold. No? Mar?
I don't know if they let.
Oh, no food in there. Okay. So we said that the reason why Bilam wasn't able to curse Klai Yisrael is because Hashem didn't get upset. That one fleeting moment of rega, when the rooster changes to white, that didn't happen those days. So then why do you need this hook to grab his mouth and stop him? So I have a very good friend, his name is Yeshua Berman. He learns in the Kollel by us. He's not part of the Kollel, but he sits next to us and he learns. He's a big Baal Kishrin, and he told me a beautiful pshat that he came up, so I want to share it with you. I like original pshatim. He said, because it says by Leah, I don't remember the exact psukim, but it says Hashem listened to her because she wanted a lot of shvatim. She desired a lot of shvatim. So it says, when did she daven? Where exactly did she daven? It doesn't say anywhere that she davened. So you see from here that when a person has a tremendous yearning and a cheshik for something, it's as if you daven, as if you want. Hashem knows what's going on in your mind, and Hashem listens to that also. A lot of different rights I have for that. We're not going to get into it now. We're kind of late. The same thing, lahavdol, the opposite. If a person has a tremendous yearning to do bad, like Hitler, Yamach Shemai, tremendous desire to destroy, Hashem enables a person like that. We saw in different Gemaras, Hashem enables a ganav. Just the yearning, just the cheshek, that alone is enough to. So if Bilam had that cheshek to curse Klai Yisrael, that itself could have been a problem. That's why you needed two things. Okay, fine, something like that. But I like the point, even if it doesn't fit in 100% maybe over here, but the idea of really wanting something and Hashem listens to that kind of tefillah. Says the Gemara, we're holding by Chaka, right? Like 10 lines from the bottom. So this way we can fly. Bilam ended up blessing Klai Yisrael, a bracha. But we see what he really wanted to say. Every word that he said was the reverse. He wanted them not to have shuls and bati medrash. So he said by mistake, you should have shuls and bati medrash. He didn't want the Shekhinah to rest on Klai Yisrael. It should rest. They shouldn't have a long kingdom. They shouldn't have any vineyards and orchards. They should have all these different orchards. They shouldn't have a good smell. They should be like aloe vera. They should have a nice smell. They shouldn't have kings that are very tall. They should be like cedar trees. They shouldn't have king after king, son of a king. They shouldn't rule the nations. Their kingdom shouldn't be strong. They shouldn't have any fear. They should have fear. Every bracha that Bilam said at the end turned out to be a curse. Which we are right now, we're in a base Knesses. That bracha stayed. Not all, only the klala, not all klalas. When the injury caused by somebody that you love is better than is better than a kiss of an enemy. Nataris is the opposite; it flips. Cursed Klai Yisrael, but it's better than the bracha of Bilam. We're on the last line of Amud Beis. He cursed them; they should be like a reed. This reed grows next to the water. Finally, if you have that printout, you're on it. Wow, that took almost a half hour, and I only have a half hour left. That's crazy. Okay, let's see what we can do today. Just like the reed. If you cut a reed, it grows back. Visharashim has many roots. All the winds come and blow on it, it cannot uproot it. This Klai Yisrael or Boisai. They come, they try to push us this way, that way. We have this war, that war. There's Tachtat, we have the Germans, we have the Arabs. The reed stands up straight once everything calms down. He blessed Klai Yisrael, they should be like a cedar. It doesn't have a water source. It doesn't have a lot of root system. And if you cut it, it doesn't regrow. And even if all the winds come and blow at it, you're right. For a moment, it won't move. But if a big tornado comes, then it'll flip it on its face. This reed, we make sefer tires from it. We make the kulmos that a sefer uses. Sefer Torah, Nevi'im, Uksuvim. He saw Kani, so he said a marshal. Kani, we said, is Yisrael. So he tells Yisrael, Kani, weren't you there by the three advisors that told Paroi to kill all the baby boys and throw them into the yard? How did you all of a sudden become part of the Sanhedrin? I don't understand. You were one of us. You were there when we gave the idea to Paroi to kill the children. I don't know. This is what Yechiel Moshe said. So there was three advisors. Yeah, a lot of these Gemaras we remember from school. No, we learned this in Cheder. Who are the three advisors? Bilam, Eoiv, Yisrael. Bilam, Shiatz. Bilam, the one who gave the advice. Nera, he died. Eoiv, Shishasak. Eoiv was quiet. Nidaim B'Yisurim. Why? So I saw a pshat because Eoiv. He thought, why didn't he say anything to Paroi? Because he thought that Paroi's not going to listen to him. Who am I? I'm just Eoiv. He's not going to listen to me, so he's quiet. So Hashem gave him the famous Yisurei Eoiv, the pain, the different things that he went through, because Yisurim, people scream, even though nothing's going on. It's like, even though you think if you scream, nothing's going to happen. When you scream, it doesn't help to scream, right? If you're in pain and you scream, how does it help? Doesn't help. The pain doesn't go away. So it's like a midah keneged midah. You thought that you're talking to Paroi, you saying something to Paroi is not going to help. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you something that really doesn't help. You should have said something. And this again goes back to the idea that if you see somebody doing something wrong, I don't know about it in our generation and whatever, but if you do it in the right way, you're supposed to speak up and you're supposed to tell people that they're doing the wrong thing. The Yisro Shabarach, Yisro ran away. First, by the way, Yisro didn't just run away. He made a macha. He told Parai, I disagree with you, do not kill those baby boys. And then he ran for his life. So his descendants ended up being in the Sanhedrin. Soifrim are the Sanhedrin. Yoshve Yabetz, Tirosim, Shemosim, Suchasim. These are the names of the family. Heima, Kinam, Aboy, Machas, Avi, Beis, Rechav. Uchsiv. Ubnei Kani, who's Kani? Chaysa Moshe, the Shver, the father-in-law of Moshe, Alumir Atmarim. Vaisam Shalom Yomer. Oy mi yichem sumayel. Amshem Levi. Oy mi shmechayatzmi b'shem kel. Woe is the person who uses one of the pshatim, like everything else in this Gemara. Almost every Rashi has 2 pshatim, 3 pshatim sometimes. Woe is the person who uses the Shem Hashem to live. Let's say he's in a bad situation and he needs to get out of it, so he says the name of Hashem to save him, save himself. Amar Shem Levi. Yeah, Amar B'Yechanan. Whoa, I feel bad for the nation that's beating up Klal Yisrael at the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides to redeem them. Why? When a male and a female lion are mating, you don't want to put something between them, in other words, disrupt them, because that's a death sentence. So if you're disrupting Klal Yisrael or disrupting HaKadosh Baruch Hu from saving Klal Yisrael, that's really bad for you. Betzimiat Kitim, these are the large ships. Miat Kitim, Omer Rav, Liban Asper. It's the name of a place, Liban Asper. V'inu Asher, they gave him a lot of pain. How do you say sevel? Sevel in English. Suffering. A lot of suffering. V'inu Asher, V'inu Aver. Suffering of Asher and Aver. Ad Asher Katim Mikol. This nation, Liban Asper, they wanted to rule the world. So they went all the way to Asher and they killed everybody in their way. And from that point on, they only used them as slaves. I'm going to my nation. I'm going to tell you what this nation is going to do to your nation. It doesn't seem right. Your nation to Klal Yisrael, not this nation to your nation. One Rashi is that you don't want to curse. Like you don't want to curse Klal, you don't want to mention Klal Yisrael in the curse, so you use another nation as the curse. So this is a huge Einfeld. He came up with a great idea, Bilam, how to get Klal Yisrael. It's not just a simple thing. It has a lot of steps to it, and it worked out for him very well. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates when Klal Yisrael is over on Aryeh. So how are we going to trip them up? Here's how we do it. Klal Yisrael likes nice suits. They haven't had a change of clothing in 40 years. The clothing that they took out of Mitzrayim, Leibosa, the clothing stayed in the same condition. They want something new. So how do we go from a suit to znos? I'll give you a good idea. Aselim Klein, make these little booths like they have in the marketplace. And in each booth there should be one zayna. And v'skeno b'chutz v'yadim ufnim. And put an older woman in the front and the younger woman inside. And try to sell them suits or shirts, whatever it is, clothing. They listened to the idea and they went crazy. They went all the way from the Hermon, from Har Sheleg, whatever that is, all the way to Beis HaYeshiva. Mamish, a kiss from Hashem. I'm going now into Park City, Utah, Har Sheleg. I'm going to have you in mind when I snowboard. Don't be jealous. There's a lot of bad knee, bad hip. It's Givaldic. Interesting. It seems like I didn't notice this. It seems like almost the skin was also the Zaina, but maybe not. Maybe I'll tell this beforehand. I was reading this Gemara. One of my good friends, he told me that he was once tripped up in a big Aveira. And he said, I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at this guy. This guy is the last guy you'd ever suspect and it ever should happen to. But when he described what happened, it hit me that it could happen to everybody. And this is what the Gemara is saying over here. This is Klal Yisrael. They saw Matan Torah. They saw everything. These are people on a very, very high madrega. So how does it work? Nobody ever wakes up in the morning and says, oh, today I want to do Avodah Zarah. It doesn't work like that. This is how it works, like the Gemara is describing over here. Starts off with an innocent text message. Starts off with something small. Something that, big deal. Starts off with an older woman sitting in the front. She's selling some shirts. Then it moves slowly. It's a very slow process. The Yitzhar knows what he's doing. And then it goes to the next step. And then it goes to the next step. And before you know it, you're deep in, and it's very, very hard to crawl out. That's what the Gemara is describing here. They were happy. They were in a good party mood. They were eating, drinking, usmeichim. They were in very good high spirits. V'yotzim l'tayil b'shok. And now they're going to go take a little spatzir. So now the older woman, no, chas v'shalom, he's not going to talk to a young woman. The old lady tells him, could I offer you some geschmack clothing? Oh, and all of a sudden he's interested. He hasn't had a good shirt in 40 years. So she gives him a normal market price. All of a sudden, the Yalda, the younger one, she screams out from the back, hey, you know what? I'll give it to you for a better price. Now the older one says, no, I'll give it to you. I'll match your price. So she goes down a little bit more. Kitzer. Then she says, he's already negotiating with her. You know, you're like, Yimamish, you fit right in over here. Chef, broilers will come, sit down, make yourself comfortable, pick out and have a lot of merchandise. She has some bottles of wine, good wine. But at that point, there was no yayin nesach. You want a glass of wine? Why not? It's already here. It's already sitting. No. There's no isser now. There's no isser. What I'm doing is mutter. Once he drank the wine, now his taiva is like a flame. Now he tells her, he makes a proposition to her. So Bilam told her exactly what to do. When you get to this point, you do step 3. After step 3, step 4. So she pulls out a avodah zarah from her pocket. I want you to worship this. I'm asking to have relations. You just have to do one thing. You have to worship the avodah zarah. What are you, crazy? I'm Jewish. What do you care? They say this is mamish in Hebrew today. You ever heard that? We're not asking you to do avodah zarah. We're asking you to relieve yourself. How bad could that be? To relieve yourself in front of avodah zarah. But he doesn't realize that's par. Par is to relieve yourself in front of avodah zarah. I'm not going to let you go until you say that the whole Torah is false. So mamish, now we're holding in a whole different step. And they fell for it. At the end of the day, they fell. So they did do the avodah zarah, they did do the znus, and that's why 24,000 Jews had to die. So Bilam got them. Vayeshev Yisrael bashitim. It fits into this whole sugya. I'm just thinking now. We said, what's Bilam? What's Achav? A name has meaning to it. Names are not just names. That's the whole sugya that we had for the last few daf. So now the Gemara says, what's shitim? What does shitim mean? So one shot is, Rebbe Eliezer L'shitase, we're going to see the same thing by Refidim. He says, no, it means nothing. Shitim Shema, that's the name of the place. Hillside. It doesn't mean anything. They were dealing with silly shtusim. What shtusim, Rabbi Yisai? Shtusim, we say, it says in Nosoi, Parakeh, Pasuk Beis, Ein Adam Noyef, Rashi says, Ein Adam Noyef, Ela Imkei Nichnasa Boi Ruach Shtus. Aryeh is shtus. People do Aryeh, It's when they're shaitim. But the Krenalam, the Zivchei Leheyen, these women weren't wearing clothing. They went another step, more than Bilam told them. All the men became balikeri from the Taiba. So now we know what shitim is. What's refidim? Refidim Shema. Again, Rebbe Lezer says that's where Amalek came. That's the name of the place. It means that they became weakened in Torah. They were learning a lot of Torah, and they became weak in Torah. They saw a pshat. What's pshat? They became weak in Torah. Why? Why did they become weak in Torah? Because Klal Yisrael was very busy with all the nisim they had. They had the man, they had Kriyas Yamsov. They were talking about it. They were schmoozing about it. They made parties to celebrate all the nisim, and they let go of the Torah. They thought that it's more important to celebrate the nisim than the Torah. That's what it means to ripu. It became a little weaker. Shenemar lehivnu always albanim merifin yudayim. This is not my pshat. This is Rubinoff Pertzovitz. You ever heard of Rubinoff Pertzovitz? He was the Rosh Yeshiva in the Mir Yeshiva. My father learned by him. That was his pshat. Zog the Gemara. That's why, by the way, I always tell Mark, I don't like sitting on a stage like this. I like it in Ramat Shemesh when there's a table, the Olam shtachs me, there's back and forth, they say jokes. Over here, it was quiet, nobody's saying anything. I feel like, you know what I'm talking? There's like a certain distance. They don't want to slow me down. Okay, I got it. There's another 17 minutes. You know what we can do in 17 minutes? There's a lot we can learn. We're doing good. We got to go, you're saying. Okay, no talking. Fine. I only knew where we were. Oh, Vayeshev, sorry. Bottom of Rivi and Daim. Anytime the Torah mentions the word Vayeshev, it's a language of pain. They sat in Shittim, and then you see, they were pained. 24,000 died. And then you have Yosef, the whole story with Yosef, as the Basim Ra Alavim. Vayeshev Yisrael Beretz Goshen. It says again Vayeshev. Vayikriv Yisrael Lamos. Vayeshev Yisrael Vetach Ish Tachas Gafnim Tachas Teinasoi. Vayakam Hashem Satan L'Shleimus Hadad Adoyim Mizer HaMelech Hu Be'edoyim. Okay. It says Vayeshev, then all of a sudden Hadad comes and makes trouble. V'smachim Yidyonogeris Al Chaleim. V'es Bilam Ben Bar Hogu B'Charev. They killed Bilam. It says Gemara, Bilam Bayasam. What was Bilam doing in that country? He came to collect his money. Because he gave him the idea to kill Klal Yisrael, so he deserved to get paid. So he went, hold on, I don't want to show this yet. Show this thing. And then Bilam Ben Bar, what was he doing there? He went to get paid. A camel goes, he wants to grow some horns. The ears that he had before, they chop off. Here we have a beautiful depiction of it. The camel sees a bunch of bulls with horns. He says, I also want horns. And they say, okay, you want horns? We're going to take your ears. That's it. He's earless now. Okay? It's a saying, Rabbi. Don't get nervous. It's just a saying. In other words, you come to get your $24,000 or whatever it is, and then you end up dead. This is Bilam. Bilam Ben Bar HaKoisam. Bilam Ben Bar was a sorcerer. He did kishuv. Says Gemara, Koisam Navihu. He's much greater than a sorcerer. He talks to Akash Baruch who gives him direct messages. He started out being a Navi. Yes, he wasn't a very high madrega of Nevios, but because he tried to curse Klal Yisrael, his Nevuah left him, so he had to resort to doing simpler sorcery. She was the wife of the great ruler, of a very important person. When she went and she had an affair, she went to somebody like very simple, a simple guy, a guy that for his living all he does is he schleps the boats with ropes, not a chashuv person. So he went, he was on a high madrig of Nevuah, he lost it all. Daf Kuvav Amud Beis. Gotta see some sponsors. Oh, you're dying to say that, weren't you? You're waiting the whole shear. I have no idea who you are, but I'm just turning the daf. Sponsored by Daf Global, one-stop shop for all your financial needs. There's basically people that live in Israel or Americans that want to transfer money to Israel. Innovations LLC, in honor of our sons, Kalmo, 12 years old, and Yisrael, 9 years old, for learning Sanhedrin with Rebelli, 9-year-old kid finished Sanhedrin. What's up? What do you want? Ah, good idea. Here, Rabbi say hello. Hold on, I have to do this first. Okay, we're going to do a little show the Olam around the world what Hillside looks like. We'll start from this guy. Everybody wave. Ah! We should do, what should we do for this? Good morning, Rabbi Isai! Oh, that was a good one. I'm going to miss the flight for it, but it was worth it. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what we're talking about over there. Oh, it's the middle of a pasuk, brand new pasuk. Hargu b'nei Yisrael b'cherev el chalaleim. Omer Rav, shekimu boy arba misais. They took Bilam and they gave him all 4 misais: hereg, chenek, skila, and sreifa. How do you do that? So basically, Rashi says they took him, they put him on a pole, they hung him on a pole. So that's chenek. Then they chopped his head off. So that's hereg. And then he falls into the fire. So the falling is what? Skila. And then he burns in the fire. That's Reifa. So they did all 4 to him. Can Yoav do Kol Yevecha Hashem? Bezer Hashem in Gaza too. Omer Rav. Shekimu boy arba misas skila Reifa hereg v'chena. Omalei. Omalei omina l'Rebbe Chanina. So Min asked Rebbe Chanina, Mishmielach Bilam bar kama hava. Do you know how old Bilam was when he died? Omarlei michtav leksiv. It doesn't say. Elam d'chsiv anshi damim mirma lo yechtzu yemeim. Yechtzu means chetzi, half of their days. How much does a person live? 70 years on average. So half of that is 35. So they didn't even lo yechtzu. They didn't even get to half. So how much is a little less than 35? 34. Bartlosin utlashnin or bartlosin va'arba. Yesterday I gave this shir in Hebrew. Right before, I gave back-to-back shiurim. So I just asked a simple question: why 33 or 34? It should be 34. Where did 33 come into the picture? So it reminded me when I was in yeshiva, like a lot of us, and we learned a lot of Iyun, and I learned a lot of Iyun after yeshiva also. I learned 6 years in Kollel. So we would sit and ask questions like this, and we'd break our heads for 6-7 hours, and then we didn't have a good answer anyway, and then we go on. And only to find out the next day, you get to the next daf, all of a sudden the question is there. So anyway, on the plane, I'm learning, the next day's daf, Kuf Zayin, and there I see, in fact, Doyeg and Achi Teufel, the Gemara says, they lived half their life. One lived 33 and one lived 34, so I think that might be the answer here. So based on them, you see that they lived half their life, but one was 33. The Gemara says, you know what, I don't know exactly, maybe 33 or 34. Omalei Shapiko Amris. You're saying very good. Says the heretic tells him, it's unbelievable. I don't know how you know this. I saw the notebook, Bilam's notebook. It says, I don't know what this. Now I just remembered something else. When I was a teenager, I read this book. I like animals. I like safari. We're going on a safari soon, by the way. May 18th. Everybody's invited. Everybody's invited. There's just one catch. It usually costs $15,000 per person to go on a trip like this. If you donate $20,000 to MDY, you could go for $6,000. We pay the rest. Bamis. There's a $20,000. What? No. No. $20,000 is donation. $20,000 donation to MDY. You can't get there's a tax deductible. You give a donation to MDY. $6,000 is the cost, your cost. We pay the rest. Don't be. So, I read this whole book about this woman who decided lions are not dangerous, and it's based on a passing of Chumash that in Bereshis, right? Torah says that animals are going to fear human beings. She decided one day she went into the jungle. She spoke to the lions a little bit, and they accepted her. She describes the whole thing, how they didn't kill her. And eventually they became friendly with her, and they would bring her stuff. And whole book. I'm reading chapter after chapter. All the way at the end, it says, my mom was killed by a lion on January 17th, and the son just finished off the book for her. You could look it up. There's some sort of book somewhere out there. Anyways, I don't know how this is I guess I'm not understanding it 100%. Because of the Bilam maybe means the notebook that somebody else wrote about Bilam. Okay. But obviously Bilam couldn't write in his notebook that he died. Bilam, who was handicapped, when he was killed by Pinchas Lista. Pinchas killed him. They called him Pinchas Lista, the robber. The Ravina told his son, be careful of the kings. Like we said before, who was Rebavo, tried to say things about the king, and then he got sick. Ravashi called Menashe's friend, and Menashe came to him in a dream and said, who are you to call me your friend? Yes, but you're not my friend. I'm not your friend. He says, be careful of the king. Don't say any drushes about kings. Bilam, by the way, he's a guy, but he's a Navi. So, but on him you could say as much as you want. The Rechaim HaKadosh is very interesting. When it comes to Bilam, he darshans a huge amount of drushes, on the funniest drushes you've ever seen. Maybe to be Mekayim this Gemara over here, that you could darshan as much as you want, and it's a mitzvah to darshan and say how bad Bilam was. The Kamen Nishkachas Bey, Droish Bey, as much as you can find, darshan. Says the Gemara, Ksiv Doyeg, Uksiv Doyeg. It's more like a Litvisha kind of ha'avara. Doyeg and Doyeg. Doeg means to worry. Akash Baruch Hu sits and worries kaviyachol about Doeg. Don't forget, Doeg, a lot of these people were huge people. Doeg was the head of the Sanhedrin. He wasn't just part of Sanhedrin. He was the head of Sanhedrin, and he did what he did with David HaMelech. He killed the whole Ir Noiva Kohanim. He was a murderer, etc. So Akash Baruch Hu was worried about him. Akash Baruch Hu knows the future. What does it mean? Kaviyachal. It's a mashal. Lachar sheyatza, and once he went off the derech, Omer vaish yotze. I'm so sad that he went off. Simon giber v'rosh tzadik chai v'soifer. Omer v'yitzchak ma'itich siv matisal bara gibor chesed el kol hayoim. Omer lo yakosh baruch l'doyeg lo giber b'toyrata. I don't understand. Aren't you unbelievable in learning? Matisal bara. Why are you talking lashon hara about David? Lo chesed el not lecha kol hayoim. Omer Yitzchak ma'itich siv l'rosh omer lekim malach l'sabach chukai. Omer lo yakosh baruch l'doyeg rosha malach l'sabach chukai. Why are you learning my Torah? It makes no sense. Sometimes you see this, and that's a big title a lot of people have. It's easy for us to judge other people, but it comes easy. How? You the big tzaddik, you the big Talmud Chacham, you learn so much Torah. So how come you're such a ganav? We always say that. Why you do this and this and that? That's what he's saying over here. You learned the whole Torah, so how could you kill people? It doesn't say in the Torah you're not allowed to kill. Where the Torah says you shouldn't talk Lashon Hara. You went and you told Shalom Melech that Noivir Kohanim, they support David, your enemy, and they gave him food. Isn't that Lashon Hara? Because of you destroyed a whole city. You know why? Because he learned it was only from his mouth and outwards. He didn't internalize it. I'm sure a lot of you learned the Igeres HaRamban. Yeah? Igeres HaRamban, anyone? Okay. In the Igeres HaRamban, it says that when you finish learning, you should make it a habit to get up and try to do something from what you learned. You learned something, get up and do it. That's what he says in Igeres HaRamban. So it shouldn't be misafa v'lachot. Learning and that's it. Get up and do it. We learn about chesed, get up and do a chesed. Vayiru, over here, Vayiru, what does Vayiru mean? To see. Tzadikim, v'yiro. V'yiro over here means to be fearful. First, the tzadikim were fearful of Doeg. Why? Because they were worried that people are going to learn from Doeg. Here you have a great Talmud Chacham, the greatest in Klai Yisrael. And look what he's doing, he's off. Aren't people going to follow him? I have a neighbor that went off the derech because his rabbi was one of these rabbis in Yerushalayim that was in the news a lot, doing crazy stuff. Remember that one of these rabbis, he's still in the news. He was in jail and he ran away to Russia. They extradited him back to Israel. So he told me, I'm off. I became religious because of this rabbi. And if this rabbi can do all these things that they say about him that he's doing, I don't want to be religious anymore. Till this very day, he's not religious. But it's very dangerous when you have a big rabbi, somebody chashiv that went off, it could schlep people with him. But then the rabbis, then the tzaddikim, they laughed. Why? Because when he died, half his age, then they said, oh, Klein is not going to learn from him. They're going to be worried. David HaMelech hated Daig. So he says to Rabbi Shalom, kill him. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. I cannot kill him because he's full of Torah. The Torah that he learns is saving him. Maybe could you do something that'll forget the Torah? Also, super interesting. That once you forget the Torah, it's not part of you, it seems like. I'm in big trouble. It says by Doeg, Gam Kel, he'll break you forever. This is super interesting to me. Akash Baruch Hu is all worried about Doeg. How do I get him into Olam Haba? He's asking David HaMelech, how do you get him into Olam Haba? Maybe the pshat is because David HaMelech had to forgive Doeg. So he's kind of asking Rishos from David HaMelech, can you forgive him so he can come into Olam Haba? Hashem wanted him in Olam Haba for whatever reason, even though he's a Rasha. No, I'm not interested. He'll cut him up. Okay, fine. I won't let him into Olam Haba. Can we at least say some Torah in his name? No. Cut him out. Get rid of him. So he says, okay, so I won't say any Torah, because if you say Torah in his name, there's Sifsaisav David Bekever, you say Torah from a Talmud Chacham, or not a Talmud Chacham, but he has a continuation. No, David HaMelech says no. So could his sons learn Torah? Leib Rabbanon. Like Haman had his sons, great grandchildren, to learn Torah. Sisera had who? Rebbe Kiva. No, uproot him from the world forever. This is all referring to Doeg. Aryeh Sofer. The one, where's the Sofer? Where's the one that counts? Sofer means to count. He knew all the chaseres for the yiseres, all the vavs, the extra vavs, everything. That's how big of a Talmud Chacham was. Aryeh Shoikel. He knew all the kavachoimers of the Torah. Aryeh Sofer es amigdalim. Shoy Sofer. Sholish meis halachis psukos b'migdal perech ba'aver. One pshat migdal perech ba'aver is like we had here in the Dharma, I think it was. If you take a box, you put a person in a box, and he's able to go over the cemetery, the tumah. That was we just stole this from Nadarim. So it protects him. Anyways, he had 300 halachas in Migdal Perech. The famous Maram in Rothenburg, Rishon, who was in jail, and they wanted to pay the ransom. It was a huge ransom. He says, I don't want ransom. There's a halacha that you only ransom a person for his value. Why? Because if you give more, then they're going to go and kidnap another person. He ended up dying in jail. So he wrote a pirush, a whole thing about Migdal HaPerech Ba'aver. This sugya, one of these things, is the sugya of this. He wrote many halachas about it because he was in a migdal, he was in a tower. Okay, I'm going to have to finish in literally 10 seconds. Let's see if we get to the end. They asked 400 questions. They didn't even have one answer. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a tremendous godless to ask a lot of questions. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for coming out.